going on, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the ABQJournal. Sean, it has been a while, but we are back. This is the still not really appropriately or creatively named ABQJournal or Albuquerque Journal Sports Live. We'll come up with something better than that, but Sean, welcome back, man. It's been a while since we've done this.
Good to be back. Been a while. I do like that we have the logo up top now. I think that looks pretty clean.
Yeah, I actually have some other designs I might mess around with.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a logo up there. We can fancy the place up a little bit. Now we just got to actually talk some sports a little bit, do some catching up for people. It is still July. It isn't, we're not going to pretend that there's a ton of Lobo sports to talk about. There is some Lobo sports, there is some college sports, and just as usual, we're certainly going to take your guys' questions as we always do. And we'll be in and out in about an hour, and 3 o'clock probably wrap it up. About 2:50, start wrapping it up, and try to get to as many questions as you guys can send us. As always, we got Richie. Welcome back. It has been a little while since we've done this. We will be doing this now every week. We are 90% locked into Monday afternoons. We're sort of waiting at this point. It isn't entirely that we just can't make a decision on this stuff. It's a lot of it, but we are still sort of waiting for the football season to start. So we know when Jason Eck, a new football coach, is comfortable in doing his weekly press availability, because some FBS coaches like doing those on Mondays. Some like doing it on Tuesdays. We like doing this show after that, so we can at least have that week's kind of updates on injuries, updates on talking points, stuff like that. But what we do have for now is Sean was at Mountain West Media Days last week. I think we're going to get to that, but let's give a couple other topics first. George, hey, what's up, man? I appreciate you for being here.
Hey, George.
A couple other topics that I wanted to sort of talk about first, just to sort of get them out of the way, and then we're going to talk a lot of Lobo football. Sean, first thing I want to talk about, and this does cover a little bit of Mountain West news that sort of went on at the Mountain West Football Media Days last week. But did you see today Memphis and they're kind of swing and a miss for the Big 12? Memphis,
$200 million offer to join the Big 12. They tried to SMU their way into it. I believe that's
even more than SMU, really. Well, yeah. It's interesting because what they did was, and initially I thought it was like a $200 million cash offer to the Big 12. Disperse this amongst yourselves, but it was in sponsorships and stuff like that. Look, Memphis doesn't want to be in the American. They've already turned down, the courting of the Pac-12. I thought I saw that and there's a lot of, I think it was Ross Dellinger that put out the Memphis news immediately, and then Brett McMurphy 2 minutes later said they got turned down. So there's some not conflicting reports, but people on different pages, depending on who they're talking to. I thought I saw that the Pac-12 might still be an option, but that depends on what the Pac-12 is willing to give them to. So what I saw on all this was that the Pac-12 is absolutely still an option, only because the Pac-12 would still take them in a heartbeat. And Memphis is making it clear, like long term, they just do not want to stay in the league they're in because they don't see any growth potential. I don't know that they see the growth potential with the Pac either. They do see maybe some, but I don't know that they see it to the point of, okay, in 5 years from now, they don't want to be in the Pac anyway. So would they make that move now to do all that travel, and then with the hope of making another move just in 5 years, basically, for a new media rights deal? But, the big news obviously is Thrifty Gaming. What's up, man? How you doing? The big news is that Memphis is trying hard to get out. So what does that mean in terms of the Mountain West? Look, the Mountain West and Memphis aren't in play. We're not suggesting any of that. But Sean, why don't you talk about conference affiliation-wise and realignment-wise, what went on last week at the Mountain West conference meetings?
There was a really good story done by Chris Vanini at The Athletic that kind of, I thought, captured the vibe. It explained a lot of things quite well, but it captured the vibe of media days. I was curious to see if it was going to be, I don't want to say contentious, but if, there was kind of a clear split among administrators and coaches from the schools that were leaving. So Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, San Diego State, all the states, Boise State. And then the coaches that were, staying, and administrators that were there that were staying. Weren't a ton of administrators out and about. San Jose State's athletic director was certainly making the rounds. Anyways, I was curious to see if it was going to be a little bit awkward. And The Mountain West, Gloria Navarez, she really kind of pushed in her opening address the message of stay in the moment. And like, this is what things are going to change, but for now, we want to stay in the moment. We want to embrace the seasons ahead, all the athletes and all that. We don't want the shine to be taken away from them because of the split. I personally think that might change a little bit during the season among fans and all that once they actually start playing games and everything. But I'm curious about, I think some fans will end up kind of viewing it the way that they really want to, if they haven't already at this point. But yeah, obviously, you have the kind of Mountain West 5 that are departing and all that, or the Pac-12, Pac-5 that are moving over to join Washington State and Oregon State, and a handful of other schools have been brought aboard. But yeah, and I think you did see, Gloria didn't comment at length about the GCU stuff because of the elements there, but certainly schools were not happy. In particular, Boise State and San Diego State. We're not happy with GCU getting brought in without the consultation, but it's also worth pointing out that they left the league without the league's consultation anyways.
Trying to get our little banner up at the bottom, little ticker. And the funny part about the San Diego State and Boise State threatening legal action is that it is a running joke now across college sports. People might want to be upset with a Reider in Albuquerque for tweeting jokes about it, but the reality is, like, all of college athletics is laughing at what's going on between the Mountain West and the Pac-12 right now.
Yeah,
and nobody's like taking a side, like, oh, that side looks so much better than that side. It's an embarrassing situation for all parties, and no, whoever might be watching or listening right now, your side isn't viewed as the better side right now. Both sides are looking like, man, they really became dysfunctional, and things weren't great for anybody, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I didn't
mention the big headline that came out before media days. So things are going to play out in courts. This came out the day before. They could not reach settlement, couldn't reach mediation, all that. So mediation did not work, I should say. So yeah, they couldn't find their way in the middle, and that was that.
Well, so as this Memphis thing kind of happens, like, it's interesting. I've not yet read it. Well, let me back up. Memphis obviously wants its basketball program to be in the best position it can be, and it has invested in football to get really good, sort of to help with that cause. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wants football to be good too. Don't get me wrong, but Memphis wants its basketball program to be elevated and to be considered one of the best and among the elite. And that's sort of what their whole plan is they want to be in a league where basketball is king. The Pac would be that. The American is fine too. The Pac certainly isn't what they all dreamt it would be. And don't tell me otherwise. Brian Dutcher, Mark Few weren't thinking 9 months ago that they'd be going to San Marcos, Texas for a full shared version of Texas State being the completion of this dream project that they had. So I don't know that Memphis goes to the Pac for that, but the Pac-12 would be better than the American, which has dropped athletic, by the way, from its name. It is now just the American.
The American, yes.
So I don't know what their abbreviation technically is. Probably still AAC, just because everybody already has that programmed into whatever. I don't know. You can't just call them the A. So I don't know. But the American is still going to be better than, or my guess is still going to be where Memphis is for a long time. What I find interesting though is I've not yet read it, but Matt Norlander has a piece out now with the sports agent Daniel Poneman, NIL agent, about the Big East, and some schools are now starting to get a little mad that the Big East doesn't have to deal with football in this whole NIL world, right? In this rev share world, where that is what Richard Pitino talked about a lot, leaving UNM, saying, man, I think the Big East is positioned well right now because they don't got to split their $20 million rev share investment with anybody in football. They get to pour it all into whatever sport they want, but primarily basketball, right? Yeah. And so there's a story I'm interested to go read on Matt Norlander. Here's a blind retweet, if you will, a blind endorsement of it. Go read it. I'm sure it's informative. I'm sure it's good. They also don't have football to help prop them up. They're not making the same revenue as football conferences, but it's true. A school without football that is getting the same revenue and same league money as the rest can really build their basketball program, pretty nicely right now. which is what Gonzaga is going to be able to do in the Pac-12. They're already the best. Sorry, San Diego State, but Gonzaga is a better program right now, has more money right now, and is about to get a full share without having to invest in football.
Do we know, as a sidetrack, do we know what number, or because I'm assuming Gonzaga is not going to hit the 20.5 million?
I don't know.
Do we know what number they're going to be close to?
No, I have no idea. And as a private school, even if this does become sort of schools are starting to lean towards the transparency side, as a private school, Gonzaga is going to be one of the last to ever have to do that.
Because what I found interesting with the Memphis thing, it was kind of buried in Dellinger's story. Memphis, the people in the athletic department are saying that they're going to hit the 20.5 million as a G5, which, you kind of are. If you're going to try and join the Big 12, then certainly you have to hit that number, right? Because every Big 12 school
is close. Yeah. You think every Big 12 will hit the 20? They probably will.
I would like to think they probably would. I mean, obviously Texas Tech won't have any issues from what we've seen.
Well, I know one school that will be on the low end of that is barely, trying to get to that is actually going to be Houston, where former UNM athletic director Eddie Nunez is, because they actually, when he took over, were said to really actually be in a bit of a financial crisis. All relative, not a crisis like UNM or a Mountain West school. It's all relative, but I don't know if they're going to be easily to that 20 million mark.
Yeah. UCF, I would be interested in kind of seeing the numbers there. I don't know if I'm concerned about Arizona State, certainly not BYU. We could go down the list, but I thought that to me seemed like a story in and of itself, that they're promising to kind of be close or hit that 20.5, which, look, if you're trying to, set the table to join the Big 12, that's going to be part of the cost of admission there, along with the 200 million that offered. But yeah.
Well, I'll add to this a little more, I suppose, close to home. Grand Canyon is now in the Mountain West. Grand Canyon is a school without football that is going to, I don't know with 100% certainty what their share is going to be in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
I wish I did, but I don't know for sure what they're getting. But I do know whatever it is, none of it has to go to football because they don't have a football program, right? Mm-hmm. UC Davis, when they join next year, the school that's still, to me, a head scratcher, but UC Davis doesn't have to share any money that it gets from the Mountain West with its football team. It does have a football team. It's just not an FBS football team. Mm-hmm. But it is a basketball-only member. So it's interesting to see how this plays out, how this part of all of this plays out, right? Will the Big East basketball just get stronger and stronger because it's not sharing any of its rev share money? Or do you need football in this modern era to contend, right? The Big East seems to be the one league that could get away with not having it. But I don't know if being a program without football in a conference that is a football conference like the Pac, like the Mountain West, I don't know if you're going to be able to pull it off because it's just you're not getting the media rights deal. That's for sure.
Yeah, we are at the stage where we have kind of just stuck a bunch of schools together, kind of geographically, but maybe not that, and we're trying to figure that out.
As I've said before, it is a shame that this all didn't get played out where football got to break off, make its own conferences, make its own geographical, whatever it wants.
And it's still all the other sports happen. Like, it's not totally off the table, but
no, but with all these media rights deals being so staggered, it's going to be hard to break. You're going to have to break some TV deals, and to do that's going to be really interesting. But yeah, there's no reason that San Diego State and West Coast schools should be playing tennis, soccer, all the Olympic sports against East Coast schools on weeknights and all that. So good to have you guys back. I appreciate that from a very unbiased Matthew Narvaez. I appreciate that.
Matt asked me before I went on, literally 3 minutes before I went on. I'm looking at him at his desk right now, and he's looking at me now. If he could get a shout out. So shout out, Matt. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a loyal listener.
No, we don't do shout outs, Matt. So don't do it.
Maybe we get sponsorship. Does Narvaez have anything up his sleeve we could use?
I imagine he's got some Cowboy news he could tell us. I do got one that I'm going to ask about Leroy when we get to UNM specific here in just a couple moments here.
Yes.
I will say this is obviously not somewhat, but this is, football stadium specific, but not really the team. So let's go ahead and get to it. Doug Salisbury is asking via YouTube, what have y'all heard about UNM's plans for the money the legislature appropriated for University Stadium Sean, I do think they've already said some of the stuff they're going to do. Can you speak to that at all?
I can't speak a ton to it, to be honest with you. It
Well,
happened.
The video board is part of some of the money that they got finalized.
This happened the day I left for Vegas for media days, and so it's on my list for this week. I have not been able to get to it, but there will be a story out this week, kind of clarifying some things. Although and admittedly, it was a travel day. You're getting in. I did skim the kind of write through that they put together, the school put out about all the plans and all that too. So yes, but
so the legislature didn't only give some capital outlay money to UNM. That's the one that certainly bothers a lot of NMSU fans, is when it comes to outlay, UNM UNM athletics has gotten a lot more for years, but they've also asked for more every year. They've also been denied more of their requests than NMSU every year. Again, we're not going down that path right now, but I do think a united front from the two schools hitting up lawmakers around the state that both schools need X, both schools need Y, is not only something that I think will help both schools get more. I think it's something that's coming too. It sounds like the leadership of both schools are 100% on board with some united lobbying, if you will, when it comes to state lawmakers for capital outlay money.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it. I think thinking back a couple of weeks ago about, just what we've heard about that as well. And obviously NMSU is a situation where they are kickstarting an athletic director search, national search, but it's hard to imagine anybody that they hire not being interested in that, just given the literal geographic circumstances of what it looks like to secure some of this capital outlay money.
Layden's asking back to the Memphis part of it, $200 million. Why would the Big 12 deny that? From our knowledge, I don't think Sean or I, either one, have talked to anybody from the Big 12 yet. I will say I've texted the one.
I talked to somebody in Memphis today. I did that.
Well, there you go. I actually did send a text to Eddie, just kind of asking him his thoughts on all this stuff. I have not heard back from Eddie. But look, Memphis has a whole lot of bad going on right now. Not only do they have academic fraud and 2 years of probation that just
Jeff Goodman called it the off season from hell, capital right. H hell.
It and all that probably cost them, if they had a little bit of a chance by this swing and a miss to the Big 12, joining the Big 12, their past week has probably hurt them. They've had a basketball player arrested for a criminal charge, which they have had troubles with criminal charges in recent years and through the years. They have academic issues. They don't, 200 million wasn't just a straight cash kind of payout. It was in sponsorships and stuff like that. So look, I think those are part of it. And I'll add this, if somebody wanted Memphis other than the Pac-12 or the American, Memphis would be there. Memphis has been dying to get out. Memphis isn't an ideal partner for these power conferences for a lot of reasons, but money's not the reason. So I guess it kind of does speak to the fact that we say money drives everything. Money doesn't exactly drive everything, because Memphis has it, and until they clean some other stuff up, I just don't think they're going to be nearly as attractive as the payout seems like it would be.
I'll add this to emphasize, this is a line from the Dellinger story, to emphasize just how desperate Memphis is to get out of the league in this kind of no-risk proposal, as they kind of put it. Memphis would subject themselves to expulsion from the Big 12 after 2030-2031 academic year if the Big 12 deems it is not adding value. That is one of the most desperate things I have ever heard related to any school in conference realignment at this point. And we went through the wave in 2023, where everybody was trying to figure out what the hell they were doing, where they were going.
Think about what that says. That says we will pay you to just sit there in your league and not take any revenue or media rights payments. We will pay you just to be in the league for 5 years. And at the end of that period, if you don't like us and don't want us anymore, kick us out. And we never would have collected one dime of media rights money.
I think we've all begged for a job in the past or something. It's if you don't like the work, you can have it for free, but in the back of your head, you're I really need this. That's what they're doing.
They might also be looking, I don't know, man. Maybe they look a little too desperate for what respectable school is going to be like, sure, we'll take the school willing to pay their way in that we didn't want otherwise. It's not a great look, but man, 200 million is 200 million. And you're not wrong. That 200 million sure seems like in what all this is driven by. Why wouldn't 200 million work, right? All right, I'm going to move on to a couple of the questions real quick. I've saved one from Leroy. Leroy, if you're still around, I'm getting to yours in just 1 second. Since this is also a non-football team specific, I'll go back to Matt, our colleague, who was asking how big of a deal is the Lobo Crossing Retail Center and other future UNM South Campus mixed-use developments. I think let me finish. In the new world of college sports and attracting high-level talent to the university, I don't think it in and of itself attracts any player. Like, I don't think any players are coming in looking at like there's an In-N-Out burger near the stadium. It's a bigger picture that you don't see the effects of and the benefits of until that retail center starts slowly changing mindsets of what that area is, right? You do start going to this restaurant before and after games to have a beer, catch up with friends a little bit. You start making a Lobo football game an event a little bit more, maybe even a Lobo basketball game, although it's hard to complain too much about what Lobo basketball has going on right now when they're getting well over 12, 13,000 fans again without any of this there. But think about it. You have 3 major sports venues at one intersection in New Mexico without a bar within, I don't know what the nearest bar is. Think about that in any other major city in the country. And Albuquerque, population-wise, is a top 50. I know media market-wise, this is considered a top 50 media market. You're just not going to see 3 huge sports venues that are regularly used like are here in Albuquerque. And there's not a sports bar or a restaurant to go to afterwards. Like that's part of what makes an area like they're finally starting to do it here in Albuquerque. That's what makes an area kind of have that sports vibe. Albuquerque, to some people, is a sports town only because they're sports fans. Albuquerque in general isn't exactly considered a sports town because they don't have this. They don't have this vibe where you could just go have a beer after the game or before the game. And they're starting to catch up to that a little bit. And I do think it's going to be big, but I think the payout on this might be a few years down the road.
Yeah, Matt is sitting at his desk, like nodding his head, like as he listens to. So I think he's definitely getting the message. But yeah, the line "in the new world of college sports," it was, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where everybody was, you had the kind of facilities space race where everybody wanted the best facilities in college athletics. We're going to put the big curly slide in the Clemson facility and all that. And we're just not at that stage anymore. If you want, you want good recruits, you want to consistently recruit well and all that. The best thing you can do is promise a good rev share strategy. It used to be going back to about a month ago. Strong NIL pockets and all that too. And it's just not really that anymore. I mean, it's good to have facilities, but it's not the end all be all that it was before.
I'll tell you what this does though. This shows that UNM, even if in this scenario of man, we missed it. Like everyone did that 10 years ago, which is sort of what we're saying. This probably could have and should have been done 10 years ago. Would have helped out UNM a whole lot more, but they're not ignoring it. They're realizing if we're ever going to get right, we can't just say we missed the boat on that. We do got to play catch up. You do still have on the record a university president, Garnett Stokes, who at a regents meeting a couple months ago said, I won't, this is not a direct quote because I don't have it sitting in front of me, but I watched the meeting online when she said, UNM has failed to fund its athletics programs in the past. We cannot keep doing that. We need to, at that time, it was approve more student fee money going towards athletics. And that goes in line with the state giving them more money and this and that. And there's an admission at UNM right now that they have not invested properly in athletics to be in a conference and to be not left out when the defecting 5 go to reform the Pac-12 and all that. So UNM's at a place now where they're playing a little bit of catch up, and they would probably admit that, but they're also not running from it. They're like, okay, we're not going to fix this problem by just trying to tackle what's next. We got to do a little bit of fixing the past and keeping up with the present. So, all right, let's get to some football specific, if we will, Sean. Leroy had this from right when we got on that I'm
Lobo Leroy.
Lobo Leroy, just for hypothetical, of course, if UNM talking football here. If UNM football beats Michigan this year, would that be a bigger upset than the 2007 Appalachian State game?
It's just App State. They prefer App State. They are hardline. It's just App State. They are very, very peculiar about that. They really particular about it, I should say.
I will point out that he wrote App State. That is just me and my antagonistic sort of.
Yeah, you got it. It's just App State. It's like how you can't say Eastern Carolina. It's East Carolina, App State. You got to just.
And you can't tweet about litigation and
no
Boise State or something.
I would not want App State fans on my back. I would not want to pick a fight with them.
How historical would it be if UNM did it? My quick take, you're the football guy, and I'm going to let you answer in depth. My quick take is it probably wouldn't be nearly as big as that, because I think that was still at a time when App State was like who did that? And App State right now doing that certainly wouldn't be as big as what App State did in 2007. And UNM, despite what we know as all its problems, probably it's not realized around the country that UNM's long-standing football issues are what they are. People would probably be like, oh yeah, that's the team that just beat Auburn a couple years ago.
Yeah, you kind of basically said exactly what I was trying to say. I do think it depends on what perspective you're going to look at it from. I think if UNM did beat Michigan, I think that you could pretty well and easily argue at the Big House, all that, no matter how bad Michigan ended up being, that's pretty much the best win in program history. I think you could do that. But I agree with you 100%. I say this as a guy that also grew up in Michigan as well, where the App State, it doesn't matter, if you're an MSU fan or a U of M fan or you went to Central or whatever, everybody knows about that App State game. And I think App State over Michigan will always be the biggest one, because that's the iconic. It wasn't even FCS back then. It was AA, right? Division I, AA, and all that. That was the iconic lower level beating the higher level. And I think I have not put my AP preseason poll together. If I saw this question, I want to look it up because that was the opener. Michigan was top 5 in the country preseason that year. Michigan will be good this year. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they might not even be top 10 in the preseason poll, depending on how you look at it with some of the things that they have coming in. We still don't know if Bryce Underwood's going to be the guy. He probably will be, but that hasn't been fully announced. We don't know if that's going to be Mikey Keene or not, but yeah, I think it could be from a UNM perspective, 100% incredibly historic. Remembered forever, iconic day for UNM. That is the day you celebrate forever. For Michigan, I don't think it would be worse than the App State game. That was kind of a whole new low and kind of the end of the the Lloyd Carr era in a lot of respects.
I'll say for UNM, whoa, how big would that be, man?
Oh my God! Oh my God!
With the year it's coming off of, there still is a sense of there's optimism, more fundraising than ever, which is remarkable to me that they lost an AD, a football coach, and a popular men's basketball coach, and made more money in fundraising than they ever have before this past year, which we reported a couple weeks ago, or just last week. But and it not only beat the rest of the Mountain West in the Learfield Directors Cup, it beat every group of 5. UNM had the best athletics year you could have as an FBS school, without basically having a good football team. If your football team was good and beats Michigan to start, and you got a new football coach and a new era there, your AD's basically still in his new era. He's only been here 7 months. Mm-hmm. It's hard to think that, but Fernando Lobo's still only in month 7, right? We're in July, and you got December, so I guess month 8. And new basketball coach, like this would be huge for UNM. A lot of good things would come from it if they play well, but if they happen to pull off the upset, it would be absolutely phenomenal for UNM.
And I'll say this too, I'll have something about this closer to the Michigan UCLA games. Like UNM, Idaho under Jason Eck, they always played P5 schools pretty well.
Yeah.
They played a pretty not great, but kind of mediocre, but still a P5 team at the time in Washington State, really tight in his first game. I mean, that came down to the final 90 seconds. They played Oregon really well last year. So I don't know. I don't think there's any secret sauce to it. I think it's just having the guys and, obviously knowing what to do with them. And certainly they're in a different spot, this year compared to last year at Idaho or going up against Oregon. But they have a history. And my God, if they did do that, the UNMSU mix-ups would be legendary.
It's hard to say it out loud. It's easy to type out.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah. But oh my God. Mexico State knocks off Michigan.
Yeah, that's Diego Pavia's old school, right? It beat Auburn.
I think that happened after they beat Auburn. Like, I think that was, So,
you mentioned your AP preseason top 25. Over under for Mountain West teams in your preseason top 25. Let's say 5-6 Mountain West teams.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking I'm putting Nevada at 23. I really like what Schultz got cooking.
You think all 12? Oh, nice. You did say this in a little 5-minute pod that I'm starting up. You said it last week, but you aren't predicting Mountain West contention for put them together, but a Nevada, New Mexico, one of the two. But you think one of the two is going to make a little bit of a run, right? You don't think both of them are finishing 11th and 12th?
It's tough. You have to. I didn't do them out of like power rankings. I did them as literally. Just this is how I think the league is going to shake out. As I look at it right now, I do think Nevada has a schedule where they could do something, and to the point where I picked them 12th, and part of that is they've been 2-20 something over the last 3 years. But I kind of like what they have cooking, and I like listening to Chota at media days. I think he's a really good coach. I like listening to him at media days and kind of just what they have coming together this season, and just the fact that it hasn't been another offseason full of there's turnover every year at the G5 level at this point. It's a fact of life, but it hasn't been insane turnover. And they feel like they kind of got better through some of the turnover as well. So I could see Nevada doing something. I could see New Mexico doing something.
Okay, how about this?
I think the schedule is pretty tough. Like I don't really like how the schedule breaks for them in certain spots.
I like what Conference USA did last week. They had a bowl probabilities or bowl confidence.
I didn't like that. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know. I didn't like
a 50-50 split on our bowl confidence poll. I don't know of what we think of the poll. I like the fact that they just kind of had what did they call it though? It was their bowl.
It was like the bowl confidence index.
Yeah, their bowl confidence rankings. And I did shoot an email to their SID, their conference media guy, and just said, hey, just to make sure, how did you guys do this? Did you guys did every voter just sort of vote who they think will be in a bowl and who won't be? And essentially that's all it was. Because if you thought a team would be in a bowl, I liked it, but I'll ask you this: if I gave you Nevada and New Mexico together on a bet, like what are the odds of one of those two football teams picked the bottom two spots in the preseason football poll? One of those two teams making a bowl still would be odds on or odds against those two teams making a bowl. But the more teams you put into a mix like that, like the odds kind of get closer and closer.
Yeah.
What odds, without even if you don't want to give a specific number, how close do you think it would be that one of those two teams could get to 6 wins?
12-1. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So that's
maybe
pretty
that.
Hard, so you're not giving it much of a chance then. 12-1 isn't.
No, 12-1 might be a little. 12-1 might be a little too. How about let's go like 8-1.
Yeah, like 8-1. All right, I'm going to come up with something a little more tangible to kind of for people's minds to wrap around. What's more likely? UNM Nevada, one of those two teams makes a bowl game, or let's say
I eat a grape by Christmas.
San Jose State doesn't.
Oh, no. It's you're saying what's more likely? I would say it's more likely that they make a bowl. San Jose State, to me, has the easiest schedule in the league. So if they didn't make a bowl, that would be a complete disaster.
And you do have them third on your poll, right?
I have them third, and I had them at 2. And I kept waffling back and forth. Frankly, I mean, okay. It was really tight between them and UNLV.
You think it's almost a done deal? They will be at 6 wins. San Jose State isn't going to slip up and be non-bowl.
They could win like 11 games this year. Like, frankly, I mean, they could have a huge season. And then they could go to the Mountain West Championship and get destroyed by Boise. But
sure, but they'd still be in a bowl game if they did. All right, let's move on. What's next here? There was Richie's got one. Sean, have you seen been around the football players much at all yet? How's the feel for the chemistry around the guys, considering most of them are new?
It's a little weird. My first season here, there was a decent amount of turnover on the roster. There were guys coming back for sure, but there was a decent amount of turnover on the roster to where it was guys trying to figure each other out. Last year, it was not a completely new roster, but it was a lot of new guys. And this year, same thing, a lot of new guys. That's all I've kind of known. The chemistry, I think, is pretty good, though. But I think it's always going to be unless you have serious problems within the program that require like, like criminal stuff and all that, I don't think the chemistry is always going to be that bad. I do think it's pretty good though. And I think there is a little bit of a kinship among guys like Scott Trey Humphrey and Damon Bankston and Jackson Eck and all that. They're guys that did not really get looked at out of college as FBS players and all that. They went to FCS ranks and they played very well. And they kind of came up, and I think there is a little bit of I think it was Damon Bankston that kind of told me this. They do think there is a little bit of a chip on their shoulder in terms of, hey, we think we can make some noise, and we are, we're FCS guys, but, we balled at that level. And if you can play at that level, I think we can be pretty good at this level too.
Yeah, this isn't just like a bad team, bad roster. Teams have been bad for a while that they're all bonding together like nobody believes in us. These are a lot of players who are at good programs just at a lower level. So they're still of the mindset that like, man, when we get things going, we win games. People just don't think at that level we can do it. But like none of us really know that for sure, right? You could be I've said this before, like, well, you could be the best basketball player in the world and play on, a really bad basketball team and stuff like that. And people still may not know about you until you go to the NBA or whatever. And I just think that that's what some of these guys have, that mindset. It's not like they're fooling themselves. They've performed and won games at the level they've been at. So that's what they think they're going to do this year too. Also, I'll point out that like there hasn't been a whole lot just yet of direct access or eyes on players for you just yet. That's about to start first week of August.
I would disagree. I mean, I went to all but 2 spring practices, and that was
I just mean since then. Like since we've done our last show, there hasn't been like a whole lot of more right now than a couple months ago because they got to do their little bit of break from us, from everything. Things start stepping up again at media days, and then in about another week they'll start stepping up again where you
camp starts July 30th. Yeah. And Eck talked about this a little bit at media days too, the element of like, you're getting like, they're giving guys hats if they can get up in front of the entire room and name every single player in front of them. Like that's worthy of a hat and all that. Cause it's a lot of new guys, and you're trying to, figure out not only, the guys on your side of the ball, but on the other side of the ball. I don't know how many hats have been given out quite yet.
I was going to say, man, like the fundraising must be going really good over there if they're just giving away hats for knowing teammates' names.
Yeah, and I know they, even when they got here, the coaches in particular, Spence Nowinski, defensive coordinator, he was like, yeah, we had a great night the other night. I was out with 1 receiver and 1 tight end and 1 defensive end, and got to kind of know each other that way. Question from Jimmy, another loyal listener. Good to see you, Jimmy. Was Jake Retzlaff BYU transfer? Transfer, yeah, but he's never mind. Ever seriously considered a transfer to us? I saw this last night. I forget who tweeted it out. It was Sunday night or Sunday afternoon. And I think it was like an On3 article, and it was like, it might not have been On3 actually, but it was, transfer destinations for Jake Retzlaff. That part of they aggregated it weird. They made the graphic where they put like New Mexico and like ULM or whatever on it and all that. I have gotten absolutely zero indication that Retzlaff was being considered, that he ever considered New Mexico, and that he was even being looked at by New Mexico. Everything I've been told so far is that, really they wanted to bring in 1 quarterback. They brought in Cole Welver. They are set with the guys that they have. They feel like they have a guy with good experience in Jack Lane. He's just got to stay healthy and all that, and he will be healthy for fall camp. And then, you got guys like Lobstein and Cole Welver who are going to be battling for the starting job too. Retzlaff, though, I don't think they ever seriously looked at him, and I don't think Retzlaff ever considered them as a product of that. Retzlaff is also to our listeners that don't know.
Yeah, for the life of me, I can't remember why he transferred from BYU. What was that?
Are you being? I think
you want to break it down?
Yeah, at BYU they have the honor code, right?
Yeah, what was it?
The honor code as a college athlete, and as a student, as a general student, right? They're all held to the standard.
Yeah, I forget what he did.
Don't drink, don't have premarital sex, don't smoke, the whole 9 yards, all that.
And he did one of those.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they're their kind of standards. And Jake Retzlaff was, did he settle that suit? I think did they settle?
I can't remember, but he didn't deny it.
He was charged with we got to be careful here to make sure that we're not saying anything wrong because we don't have it in front of us right now. Jake Retzlaff was. I
feel comfortable saying this part of it. He didn't deny the sex part.
Yeah,
he did not fight the honor code violation.
He was he was caught up in a sexual assault case and all that. I think it was a civil case. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was ever actually criminal. Yeah. And he did not deny that he had sex, that he had premarital sex, I should say. But he said it was strictly consensual and all that. And they ended up settling, if I remember correctly. But he was facing a 7-game suspension. I think that's what was reported at BYU because he broke the honor code. Everybody has to follow the honor code. And he couldn't transfer out as a scholarship guy. He could transfer out and walk on somewhere. Today it was revealed that he was going to walk on to Tulane, which makes Tulane pretty interesting.
Yeah. He's a good quarterback, man. He's going to be a Big 12 starting quarterback.
Yeah. So that's now they got Bear Bachmeier to work with in Provo. So
Bear. The Duke, we kind of covered this a little bit earlier. I don't know if you got just a little late. Long story short on this is I can say that not all $11 million is just going to the video board. There are a couple other little things that money will go towards per se. Like there are other improvements going on. But ask us in a week. We'll have a better answer for you and exactly the breakdown. Sean this week is working on a little bit more specific kind of detailing out what the plan is for University Stadium improvements this go round. That is an ongoing thing too. Just remember, it isn't necessarily all going to be done here in the next few weeks before this season starts. This is a several years of kind of putting together this piece and that piece and this improvement and that improvement kind of thing. All right. Lobo Leroy's got another one I'm going to jump to. Beck and Dampier are going to be dropping weekly 50 bombs again.
50 burgers.
Or is the offensive firepower at Utah not at all the caliber with P4 competition?
I will lead off. I don't know if it's going to be weekly. They're going to be dropping a lot of 50 burgers this season. I feel very good about that. We had a good moment with Jay Sauvel, the head coach at Wyoming, at Media Days, where Sauvel was asked, hey, you're playing Devin Dampier for the 3rd straight season. I mean, are you guys just tired of seeing him? And he's kind of like, well, he's a great player, but, yeah, we're getting tired of seeing him just because of what he does. And no, I think, look, I've said it a million times on this show. If Devin can clean up the turnovers and be just as productive in the passing game, maybe not even get all that much better as a passer, but continue to the run as the way he does and just limit the turnovers, they're going to be a great offense. And the thing with Utah is that one thing that's really annoying me, not to get off on too much of a tangent, a lot of people are talking about Beck and Dampier at Utah like they were working with a bunch of bums on the offensive line last year. That was a pretty good offensive line. That was not a bunch of bums. I know Utah is going to have 2 NFL draft picks, maybe 1 first-rounder on the O-line this year. They weren't working with bums.
There was a Lobo offensive lineman that transferred that's going to be in the NFL mix this coming year, right?
Yes. Well, no, are you thinking of J.C. Davis?
I might be, but
J.C. Davis, that was 2 years ago.
Is that already 2 years ago? I thought last year there was a guy who transferred out that is going to be a starter this year at a Big Ten school, but maybe I'm thinking –
You're thinking of JC at Illinois, I think. So that was 2 years ago. But, yeah, that O-line was not a bunch of bums. I know it's different from, the G5 to P4 level, but at the same time, they held up pretty all right against a lot of P4 competition last year anyways. So that was me. Lobo Leroy, yes, I think they're going to drop a couple 50 burgers this year.
One more from Lobo Leroy, then we got one coming in from Adam. Let's see, Micah Alejado.
Micah Alejado, yes.
Alejado.
Hawaii quarterback.
Yeah. Is he going to throw for 450 every week? Or just against UNM?
I don't think same thing. I think he'll throw for especially in the run and shoot. I think he's going to throw for 450. It's going to happen this season. But yeah, Bronco talked a little bit about it at Media Days, and we probably should have touched on Bronco a little bit earlier, given the interest the story we put out got. But Bronco talked a lot about how much that game kind of burned him in the sense of you're just there and you give up 1 million passing yards, 1 million passing TDs from a true freshman quarterback, freshman making his first career start. But I think Alejado's going to be good, man. Timmy Chang only had good things to say, so it seems like he is. It's going to be his job this year. And
I want to do a quick little sidebar here that I have an aunt and uncle and 2 cousins and their kids and all that. in Hawaii in Eva Beach. My aunt worked at Pearl Harbor for a long time. My uncle is a teacher at Damien High School. It's a private school there in Hawaii, and their last name is Alejo, Alejo. So anytime I have ever seen Micah play, I just call him Alejo. I think me saying his name out loud right now on this show is the first time I've ever actually said his name out loud, and he's always just been my cousin, Micah Alejo.
Lobo Leroy. In short, I think Alejo is good. I think a lot of that was also just New Mexico and that secondary at that point in the season.
I'm going to get to one real quick that posted just on X alone. It didn't come through here like some of them do because I think he replied to my thing instead of the show's thing. But anyway, NM Sky Shots is the name of his account. Any advice for fans who relish rivalry, commitment, watching players develop over time, etc., as we dive in deep to the deep end of the new gold rush migratory era of college sports? I get the sentiment. I've exchanged on Twitter or on X with this person before on this too. College sports isn't for you if you can't accept that there's going to be a lot of transferring going on, and that's fine. It just, people evolve and fans evolve and sports evolve. College sports isn't going to have a whole lot of 4 and 5 year guys anymore. It just isn't. And I don't know I'm not here to like campaign for college sports. If that bothers you, then yeah, it's not going to be for you anymore. If you still like rooting for UNM and whoever they bring in, then keep doing that. But the players are now allowed to get a piece of the pie that for so long they weren't allowed to get. And as a result of that, there will be a lot of transferring.
So do you hate college sports? Because you're not advocating for college sports? Do you hate college sports? I think
I like the current setup. I am in the minority. I like the fact there are reforms that I would love to see, but none of it comes in the form of get rid of everything that's happening now because the players are finally starting to get some money. Nah, I'm all for that. All right, Adam, thank you. Welcome back. He's saying, can you speak on the revamped defensive line? I think I saw a player mention that it's the best he's seen in a while.
You did, Adam. Good to hear from you. Gabe Lopez was at Media Days. Gabe Lopez entering his 3rd season with UNM.
Adam, is there any relation?
Is there?
Adam Lopez, are you asking this because Gabe Lopez just said it?
I don't think yeah. I don't think there's any relation. No, Gabe Lopez spoke glowingly about the defensive line. That is a guy that has played on I don't want to say 2 outright bad defensive lines, considering both years, the last 2 years, they have dealt with their fair share of injuries. And you definitely saw flashes at certain points, but just not very productive, at least if you're looking at sacks and rushing yards allowed and all that, kind of the 2 base metrics there have not been productive. In fact, UNM has been horrible rushing the passer the last 2 seasons. But Gabe is moving inside. He's been a D-end the last couple of years in the 3-3-5 that they ran. Now it's a 4-2-5 4-man front. So Gabe is very excited to not get double teamed all the time as a three front D end. But he's moving inside. I think he's up 265 when he used to occasionally play on the inside at 230. I think was the number he told me, which is kind of nuts. But no, he feels good. Okiki Olaronfunmi is also getting moved on the inside, and they have a guy that might be the most dynamic edge rusher, pass rusher, I should say, that in quite some time, with Keyshawn James Newby coming in. Even when I go back to Saul and we talked to him, I asked him about the Wyoming game last year where Idaho beat Wyoming with Jason Eck, of course, as the head coach. And James Newby had a massive game against a maybe not great Wyoming offensive line, but I think he had 3 sacks. And, the hope is that he's going to continue to produce at a pretty high level here. But, yeah.
Good way to get his Lobo jersey that says Lopez on the back without having to fix it up himself by having the same last name. But no, he is not related to Gabe Lopez. Another quick D-line one here. I will say real quick, we'll rapid fire the rest of these. We're going to try and wrap up within an hour each time as we can. If it goes over, it goes over. But we're gonna try and wrap these up in an hour, guys. Real quick D-line comment here. Juan is asking, what up, dogs? What up, Juan?
Juan.
Is RJ Adams moving to the defensive line, or is that just a mistake on the roster?
Yeah, Juan, good catch there. I honestly, I don't know. RJ Adams to me is a guy that is still very much in the offensive tackle mix. he could have gotten moved over, but he was a guy that I thought was at the very least going to be, well, in the spring, he was kind of, he got some run of the first team, but I was thinking of him as more as like a backup at the in the tackle depth. I don't know. I can check in on that one. That's a really good catch. I have not perused the roster that intently, but they're also not that deep at offensive tackle. So I was figuring that he was going to be involved there, and they at the very least they feel that they manufactured depth on the defensive line. So I would be interested to see if that happened, but I'll check in on that.
Rob knows what's up. Geoff loves college sports. So to answer your question there, Sean, do I like college sports? I love college sports. I just hate your team.
Not your t-shirt. Geoff Grammer hates my favorite team, like that kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Every college sports influencer is put out.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone that has an AP vote, right? We have to say it every year. We do have another one here, sort of on the future that I will kind of respond to. Layden saying the time has come to see what Fernando Lobo has been cooking. Everything's been inherited from Eddie Nunez so far. I'm optimistic Coach Eck is going to triumph Mendenhall achievement in his first year as Lobo coach. He broke a 26-game losing streak against ranked opponents. Coach Eck, Coach Olin, and Fernando Lobo, you guys are up. He is up. It is time to see what this new era of Lobo athletics brings. I will not, though, just sort of blindly say he inherited everything from Eddie. I will say this. It was just a personal talk. It wasn't like for a story or anything, but I spoke with Eddie Nunez just last week and told him, man, like, hell of a year. The fundraising's up, all that good stuff. Stuff was set up pretty good for success in Fernando Lobo's first 6 months. But let's not just say Eddie set everything up. Eddie left before the football season started last year. To say that Fernando inherited everything. What Fernando inherited was a football coach that hadn't coached a game yet when Eddie left and quit before Fernando took over, or basically the same week as Fernando took over. So Coach Eck is Fernando's. He did inherit, I suppose, the success, you could say, of a losing season that Bronco had that I thought brought good vibes, but certainly didn't bring a bowl game or anything like that. Mm-hmm. There were some good feels around here, but a 5-win season, let's put it in some historical perspective. Nobody's going to remember that that was a wonderful 5-win season, basically a month from now. And outside of Albuquerque, nobody looked at it like the people in Albuquerque did. The Eric Olin thing, he inherited Richard Pitino, but then went out and hired the hottest coach kind of on the market in some people's estimation. Not the hottest high major coach, but certainly the biggest name is the new up and comer. A lot of A+ in the offseason ranking Eric Olin. And the fundraising record that was set at UNM had an awful lot to do with, I think, just sort of the goodwill that was brought and the good vibes brought after Eddie's departure. I think Eddie left a very, very good foundation for them to build on, but then they built on it. I do think guys like Jalen Dominguez, bringing Ryan Berryman back, Amy Began, Chris Bach. I think there's a lot of Chris Hudson, used to be Baca. I think there's a lot of really good pieces in place in Lobo athletics. A lot of them were here before Eddie even got here 8 years ago. So I think there's a lot of good pieces in place that kind of made for a really good year. Now, you're absolutely right. Let's see what you can do now. This is your first full year, Fernando, Eric, Olin, and Jason Eck. But, it is on to you guys. But I wouldn't just blindly say everything was left for Fernando. He did a pretty good first 6-7 months on the job.
It was a pretty hellacious first month, I should say, in particular.
Yeah.
So,
and then, legislative lobbying started, about a month and a half after he started too, after the football coach. But yeah, you are right in that, okay, now let's see what you guys do. All right, Rob. This is for you, Sean. What's one game on the football schedule that looks like a loss at first glance that wouldn't surprise you if they won?
I am going to go. It's a really good question. Let's go Colorado State. I think Colorado State in late October. What?
Don't butter up the viewers. That's a really good question. Come on, Rob doesn't need that.
I think it's a good question. I think Colorado State. I think at that point in the season, whatever crucible they kind of had to go through in terms of playing Michigan, UCLA, San Jose State, Boise in the first half of the season. If they come out and they're healthy enough and they get things kind of cooking, they get Colorado State at home. And as Rob points out, they would break an incredibly long drought of losing to Colorado State. Unfathomable. I didn't realize it was that long until they played last year, and I was putting together like the preview. I forget exactly how many years, but yes, Rob, also a Fort Collins guy too. So yeah, I would say Colorado State, less likely, but no, it would still be pretty surprising if they beat UCLA, actually. It would be a bit of a shock if they did that. I don't think UCLA is going to be that bad this year. So yeah, let's go Colorado State.
You also don't think UNM is going to get to a bowl game, and Nevada's not going to do a bowl game. You hate them.
I hate your favorite teams. I also apparently I hated Notre Dame because I didn't put them 2 in my my final poll last year. Not since 2009. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, that's a ridiculous streak, right? That's unbelievable. So, yeah.
All right, guys. Every week we're going to do this until further notice. We're shooting for Mondays at 2. We will talk a little UNM Lobo sports. We'll talk a little UNM Lobo basketball next week. James Yotis, for those that don't know, the best thing on Lobo basketball you can go read right now was a James Yotis story from last week. Eric Olin spoke at the New Mexico High School Coaches Association, spoke to all the high school basketball coaches and whoever else wanted to go. And man, they spoke so highly of him. The best of the best in high school coaches around New Mexico. Greg Brown. The pull quote that we used as our headline was Roy Sanchez at El Dorado. Just said, his offense is the wave of the future. A lot of high praise for the system Eric Olin is bringing in, kind of to what one of you spoke to earlier. Like, okay, now we got to see it. But there is no denying what Eric Olin is bringing in is highly respected, and a lot of people will be watching UNM basketball this year to see how it works. And I'm telling you, man, I'm trying to talk myself off a ledge. I think they're not going to beat San Diego State, but I don't see why UNM might not be as good as second. I don't think I'll predict them to be second in men's basketball, but I think they could be as good as second best in the Mountain West this year, in a year that, just so everyone knows, San Diego State's going to be really, really good. So football, that will be our main point of conversation for the next several shows, certainly for the next couple months. Anything else you want to sign off with, Sean?
No, appreciate everybody tuning in today. It's good to be back. And I appreciate everybody kind of reading our content. We have a whole heck of a lot more football content coming out over the next couple weeks. So yeah, we'll be putting it out there, and be sure to read, subscribe, and yeah.
And check out the podcasts too. I'll give a quick plug to all the podcasts. We got about a dozen of them now. ABQJournal Podcast Network. Sean will be picking up the pace on some fairly regular ones starting soon, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yep.
Writer's Block will be a weekly piece of your viewing and or listening routine, I would hope. I am still doing some weeklies. I'm recording one more possibly later tonight, but probably tomorrow for this week's show. And it is UNM Lobo specific. When I hang up here, sign off here, I'm turning around and recording one of the 5-minute ones, a quick one on a new podcast that I've started called What's Up in 505, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Sean was sort of my pilot program, pilot show, pilot episode.
Guinea pig, yeah.
The guinea pig just last week. But I am going to be doing 1 or 2 a week, maybe 3 a week, just sort of sports stories that sort of fall through the cracks of our podcasts for those that just like the podcasts. It's not necessarily Lobo basketball. It's not necessarily Lobo football, but the stories around Albuquerque, and they're quick hitting 5 minutes and 5 seconds. What's up in 505? And I got to record one that will be up this afternoon here shortly. Think you guys will enjoy it. I do appreciate you guys for being here. Hope you guys subscribe if you can. Support local journalism. ABQJournal.com/subscribe is where you can subscribe digitally to us or for the print product. Until next week, thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.